Extreme 200s take to the track for the first time today for their second race of the weekend, and what has been a very hotly contested championship, but recent domination from Wilson DILKS, it must be said, off the back of 5 consecutive victories coming into this race. Make that 6 as he won race 1 this time yesterday. He's absolutely smashing it on that Ovale. The straight line speed helped him at Three Sisters, and it's clearly not hindering him here at Rowrah. He's just in top form, right? He's riding so well. He's in his element. He's at the top of his game, and nothing is slowing that kid down.
Well, there is one thing that might stop Wilson DILKS in this one, and it's the rider on the number 71. It looks like he will be, but he's oh no, that's Dango. Where is Casey? Oh no, I've been deceived. I thought that rider was going to be on another bike, but there is a rider in P2 who I thought was going to be on a very different bike, but he is here on an Ovale, and that rider is by the name of Casey O'Gorman, making his way back to FAB-Racing this weekend. If anyone's going to stop Wilson DILKS, it'll be that man. But Dan Goodman on the 71 as well. A phenomenal rider in his own right. In fact, this whole Extreme 200 grid, phenomenal in their own right as well, as they get going on their sighting lap.
They do indeed. Let's run you through the grid. Wilson DILKS took pole position by a decent half a second margin. And Casey O'Gorman and Dan Goodman, of course, the front row. Finley POLHILL from Blake Wilson. Sullivan Mounsey should be lining up 6th, but unfortunately, due to bike issues, won't be completing row 2. Harrison Day from Austin Johnson and HOLMES-WILLIAMS is the 3rd row. Jensen BISHOP completes the top 10 ahead of Harley BAKER. Beth Ashby from Annabelle McCARTHY, Farhad Lada, the top 14 riders, and a late entry of Archie O'BRIEN into this race. We'll start the race from 15th place on row 5, looking to absolutely smash his way through the field, because he only finished 2nd place a few weeks ago in Wigan. He's pretty competent in the extremes. Yeah, no, he does like the extremes, to be fair. It looks like there might actually be a few extra bikes on the field. We have been told there is a rider who's come without a transponder on the bike. He's just doing this race today, and he's not got a transponder, so we'll get that confirmed for us. But as we get ready to go racing, joining us in the commentary box is a Red Bull MotoGP Rookies Cup rider, Sullivan Mounsey. Sullivan, if you can hear us, the rider's getting ready to go racing. How are you feeling?
Yeah, really good actually. This seems like it's going to be an awesome race for Team Wilson, who's broke the lap record in warm-up by an absolute massive margin. So we'll see what Casey can do in this one.
Wait to see. Red lights are on here in the Extreme 200s. Race number 2 of round 4. Lights out, we're underway. Great launch there by the 85 of Wilson DILKS. Casey O'Gorman shoves Dan Goodman out to the edge of the track as they come down into the chicane, and then gets a great drive coming out of the chicane, looking down into McRae's to the outside. O'Gorman tries to find the gap, couldn't quite find it. Maybe he does find it at the outside at Airedale's. Like, oh, Wilson DILKS, should I say, gets it very wrong on the rear brake as they come through Airedale's, and that is going to allow Casey O'Gorman up into the lead of the race. Dan Goodman holds on to 3rd. Finley POLHILL, Blake Wilson just behind as well. What a great start that was from Casey O'Gorman. Bit of a mistake there from Wilson DILKS. He's going to have to work his way back through, but Casey O'Gorman leads here. What happens now, Sullivan? I mean, you've got some great riders up the front. Casey O'Gorman, Wilson DILKS, Dan Goodman, 3 incredible riders as Wilson DILKS looks to the inside there. I mean, they could be racing right at the front for the whole thing.
Well, Casey's got to push now, otherwise Wilson's just going to go by him. He's a lighter rider, so he's definitely going to be able to get him on the straight sometime, but it's what Wilson wants to do, whether he's going to sit there and slightly just watch his lines, or whether he's going to just go for an absolute move. Dan Goodman's also here, just on the back of these two, just staying in put, but Casey's riding very defensive. There we go, Wilson DILKS almost up the inside, but he backs out of it this time around. Wilson is on, switching between Metrikit 70 and the Ovale 190, which is quite an interesting move, but Casey is pushing at the moment, and Wilson is definitely not backing off. And there we go, Wilson DILKS up the inside of Casey O'Gorman. What a move. And here we go now, as we go on to this next lap. Casey's now put back to 2nd place with Dan Goodman in 3rd. Wilson DILKS is now needs to stretch out this margin. He had the pace, yes, and here goes Casey O'Gorman up the inside. He's done it, but he's gone deep, and Wilson DILKS on the cutback. Who's going to have the drive? It's going to be side by side, and Casey shuts the door. Wilson DILKS put back 2nd. This is an interesting race all weekend, if I say so. Oh, Wilson DILKS is out to sea. Daniel Goodman, is he going to get involved now? Wow, this is all going off on this one lap. Wow, Casey O'Gorman needs to kind of keep up there and just needs to start stretching out this margin. But Wilson is already on the back of him. Daniel Goodman's just edged up. And Wilson, he is pushing. Wilson DILKS fastest race lap record, which is 49.1. But he's now taking some sweeping lines. He's going to try and get a cut back on Casey O'Gorman. Is he going to have the run to the turn one? Yes, he is. He's up the inside. But Casey goes round the outside. This is going to cost his drive now. Is Wilson going to be able to do something? Dan Goodman's having a look on Wilson DILKS. He's not going to be able to do it this time around. He's now going to be wide as Casey. Wilson's got that lightweight speed. Is he going to be able to do it? No. Casey is able to do it. This is a very, very good race by Casey O'Gorman with Daniel Goodman just there in the background. What do you think, Ross?
Oh man, what a race we're being treated to. Casey O'Gorman, Wilson DILKS, Dan Goodman. I mean, already we've seen phenomenal action from them, and there's still 8.5 laps left to go. O'Gorman leads from DILKS. Goodman getting involved now as well. O'Gorman fastest lap last time, a 48.9454. Still a little way off the lap record set by Evan Belford back in 2022, but not far off it indeed, as O'Gorman went super defensive there. Coming into the opening chicane, he knows exactly what Wilson DILKS can do. Some of the very best of British young motorcycle talent on display here. O'Gorman, DILKS, Goodman behind them as well. There we see Blake Wilson leading the way in front of Austin Johnson. Finley POLHILL and Jensen BISHOP having a big battle as well. POLHILL trying to launch the inside. Now trying to launch the inside goes Wilson DILKS, and O'Gorman leaves the door wide open. That is DILKS through to the lead of the race. But can O'Gorman can respond? Can Goodman, who's just being sat there quite patiently at the moment, quite happy, seemingly following the front two, maybe just waiting to see if there's a mistake and a gap opens. Right now it's DILKS leading the way, and already you can see trying to pull a bit of a gap.
Yeah, well, he's definitely stretched out this margin. Casey's got to push now, but there we go. Wilson DILKS, 48.404. That is an all-time new lap record in the race. He smashed it in warm-up with a 47.9, and now he's gone set the fastest time now in the race. This is amazing riding by Wilson. As you can see, he's just stretched out from Casey in this one lap. Casey did try and hold him down, but he's gone now, and he is just looking comfortable. And he's deep. Wilson DILKS is deep. I don't know whether he's done that to make the racing interesting or what, but Casey's just kind of got a glimpse back, and now he's back on him. Is he going to be able to do it? Dan Goodman's there, looking quite comfortable, just chilling in the background of Casey O'Gorman. Maybe he's going to be able to make something of this, is Dan Goodman, because he's on that Dicko KTM 105, and it's looking quite strong at this moment. He looks quite relaxed and quite chill compared to the other front two looking on the limit. So let's see what Daniel Goodman can do.
That was the second relatively big mistake we've seen from Wilson DILKS in this race. He unseated himself quite seriously earlier on. Did a great job trying to stay on the bike and then having issues with the rear brake there as well, as these guys are leaving it all out on the track. Nothing to separate them, as there we see moves being made as well. I believe is Austin Johnson and Blake Wilson having a fight. Here goes Casey O'Gorman, and O'Gorman actually has already gone through. So Casey up into the lead of the race once again. Can Wilson DILKS respond as Casey defensive into Paddock Bend? 5 laps left to go at the line this time. Oh, Goodman tried to launch it up the inside, ran wide at the exit, so that's allowed Wilson back through, but that's the first time we've seen Dan Goodman really giving it a go in this race.
Yeah, well, that was a really good move, that. And you could see, it looks like Wilson just can't get it stopped into that right hand, and there's Richard Holmes-Williams. He looks like he's crashed, sadly, but wow, this is an interesting race, I've got to say. But here we go. Casey's going all super defensive. He's looking over his shoulder. Not the best thing to do, but he's taking it easy. And Wilson is just looking like he's struggling to get it stopped a little bit more than Casey O'Gorman is. But here we go. Wilson's looking racy again. He's looking at every opportunity there is, but he's not been able to make light of it. But here's Daniel Goodman now. He is well in this battle. Casey's super duper tight, but this is going to allow Wilson with a cutback. Is Wilson going to get the drive to turn one? No. Casey is ridiculously tight again. He is going full defensive, and there's still 4 laps to go. Here we go.
I think Casey knows Wilson has the pace, so if he gets through, I think he knows that's probably going to be it with the laps ticking away, so he's doing everything in his power to keep him behind, making his bike as wide as it can possibly be. So far it's working. Wilson has got through before, but with 3.5 laps left to run, he made a mistake, let Casey O'Gorman back through, and now O'Gorman desperately trying to defend, desperately trying to keep Wilson Dilks behind. Dilks looking to the inside, coming into St John's, can't quite make it work, maybe a late lunge into Sunny Bend. Not this time. He still has to remember Dan Goodman is waiting right behind, putting the pressure on. Goodman again looking to the inside of Paddock Bend. He tried it before, he tries it again. This time didn't work. Bit of traffic coming up as well. I believe that may be Beth Ashby up in front. It is Beth Ashby. She gets out of the way very politely. Of course, no obligation to do that. No blue flags in FAB-Racing. You do have to negotiate the traffic yourself, but Beth decided to keep the lead action going, as that is a late dive by Wilson Dilks, but leaves the door open as he goes deep. Maybe gets the drive coming out of Erdales as O'Gorman once again super defensive. Wilson to the inside, unable to make it stick. 2.5 laps left to go, Sully. Any three of these guys could win this race.
Yeah, well, I must say, if Daniel Goodman could get a nose into Wilson Dilks, he could get Wilson, and it looks like he could even get Casey. So this is looking good. Casey's ridiculously tight, but it's going to cost him sooner rather than later. But it's a matter of case of how will Wilson play this. He's much less experienced other than these two. Casey's been riding since he was 3 years old compared to Wilson, who's actually about 9 years old at the moment. But there we go. Wilson Dilks up the inside, but he's ran wide, and Casey O'Gorman's got a cut back again. Side by side, they touch, and Casey O'Gorman's in the lead. Now Daniel Goodman's involved. Casey is a world-class rider, and you've got Wilson, who's also riding the Ovale series. He's looking, trying to get past, but he can't. You've got Daniel Goodman in the British Tank Cup. Daniel Goodman goes wide now. Commentators curse, but now it's between these two. 2 laps to go. Is Wilson going to have a look, or is he going to sit there? It doesn't look like he's going to do that, but here we go now. Coming into the last corner. Is he going to do it? What do you think, Ross?
I honestly have no idea, Sully. It could be either of these two. They could come together and come off. 1 lap to go. They've been pushing the envelope the entire race, testing each other to their absolute limits. But it's one more tour for Casey O'Gorman and Wilson Dilks. Dan Goodman dropping back after that little mistake early, but still within the picture. Still maybe within the conversation. O'Gorman defensive once again. Coming up through Erdales. Dilks looks to get good drive as they rocket back down the hill. Casey all the way to the inside. Checks back, looks back, keeps defending from Wilson Dilks, negotiating their way through Stewart. Wilson Dilks needs to produce something magical now because time is running out. The laps are running out, making their way over the bumps. This is going to be Wilson Dilks up the inside. Doesn't work. No, not quite. Casey O'Gorman still there, still holds on. One final turn to go, neck and neck to the line. Casey O'Gorman will win by under 1/10 of a second from Wilson Dilks. Dan Goodman holds on to take the podium, but man, oh man, oh man, what a race.
Wow. That's left me speechless, that has. What a race that was. What a move by Wilson. I have to give him full credit for that, because what an overtake. What an absolutely spectacular overtake by Wilson. What a young kid, and he's been able to do it and overtake everyone, and he's managed to end up coming second. But what some experience for Wilson, and what a race by Casey. He's been down on speed on the straight compared to Wilson. He's been able to make the most of it. Very, very good race that was, and I don't know if any other race this weekend's going to top that one, that's for sure, but I can't wait for the next race. So if I was you guys, I'd be tuning in 100%.
Yeah, we should just pack up and go after that one. Casey O'Gorman takes victory from Wilson Dilks in P2, Dan Goodman in P3. Blake Wilson 4th with Finley POLHILL P5, Austin Johnson 6th, Jensen Bishop 7th, Archie O'BRIEN in P8, Harrison Day was 9th, Harley BAKER 10th, Annabelle McCARTHY in P11, Beth Ashby 12th, Fahad Lada in P13. Unfortunately, we did lose Rich Holmes-Williams. But man, oh man, what a race we have just seen. Thank you very much, Sullivan Mounty, for joining us in the commentary box for that one. He will be back later on in the weekend, so expect to hear some more of Super Sully. But boy, oh boy, that was absolutely brilliant. Casey O'Gorman already racing on an international stage versus Wilson Dilks, who's seemingly set to race on an international stage, and then Dan Goodman, who's well on his way to racing on an international stage. And he's just absolutely been brilliant from all three of them. Of course, they've got more races to come this weekend as well. Extreme 200s, seemingly the class to watch. Now then, it is time for, well, in race 2, what has been the race of the weekend so far. The Extreme 200s returns for their final race in round number 4. Of course, still 3 more races to come for these guys after this one. This being a double round weekend, round number 5. 6 races for each of the classes. But boy, oh boy, it's sure to be exciting. We saw Wilson Dilks, Casey O'Gorman, Dan Goodman putting in a fantastic battle, and it was just simply phenomenal what we saw from the bunch of them. Casey putting in a display that only Casey O'Gorman could, as Wilson Dilks had to hold on for second, Dan Goodman tailing them just down in P3. Joined once again by the current reigning champion of the Extreme 200s, actually, Sullivan Mounsey. Welcome back, Sully. Good to have you back in the commentary box. We saw an unbelievable race 2 earlier on, where we had Wilson, Casey and Dan just going toe-to-toe from lights to flag. What can we expect in this one?
Yeah, well, to be fair, I had to come back and commentate again because I love it, and this is one of the best views. This is such a stunning track, but most importantly, that was such a stunning battle last race, so I just want to see how it goes. But I must say, Casey, I think he's quite chuffed. He's coming off quite a big adrenaline rush. Wilson's on a bit of a down low because his brakes overheated in their Metric at 70 race, so he's not actually in a strong position, because I think that's why he was running right in the first race as well, when he was gapping everyone, was because his brakes were overheating. So I think he's now got that in his mind to basically take it a bit easier, because a lot of the riders have these problems. So did Daniel Goodman, which is why he lost the battle for the win, as his brakes overheated. So it's definitely a matter of taking it easy, braking hard and late, but also thinking about the brakes, because Finley and Archie O'Brien and all the guys in the Metric 70 class and Byron Johnson, they've been able to look after their brakes, as well as Casey O'Gorman have. These guys weren't.
Absolutely. Wilson Dilks starts on pole, Casey O'Gorman alongside, and Dan Goodman completes the front row. Finley POLHILL is 4th with Blake Wilson in P5. Solly would have been starting 6th, but unfortunately he's here instead. Harrison Day 7th, Austin Johnson 8th, Richard Holmes-Williams 9th, Jensen Bishop 10th, Harley BAKER 11th, Beth Ashby 12th, Annabelle McCARTHY 13th, Pat Larder 14th, Archie O'Brien P15 completes our grid as we get ready to go racing in race number 3 of the Extreme 200s. It is lights out. We are underway. Great start there from Wilson Dilks. Hold the lead down into turn 1. The front 3 all pretty evenly away in this occasion, but look at Casey O'Gorman already pushing super hard. Rear of the bike picking up under the brakes as he tried to shove it up the inside of Wilson Dilks, and the pair of them going toe-to-toe. Here comes Casey O'Gorman, sends it deep with a block pass up the inside into Airedales. That was brilliant from O'Gorman. Now coming down, both of them defending very aggressively. Is there problems for someone further back in the pack? O'Gorman leads from, that is Wilson Dilks in P2. Dan Goodman holding on for P3 there as well. What a start that was though, Sully, from Casey O'Gorman. Did exactly what he needed to do to get into the lead.
Yeah, well, he just had to be there. And there's Wilson Dilks up the inside. No, he's backed out of it this time around. He done exactly what he had to do. Get up the inside, make it clear that he wants to win this race and mess up Wilson's rhythm. And that's exactly what he done. It was Blake Wilson that sadly crashed in this race. Daniel Goodman's there, and so is Finley POLHILL. And there's Wilson Dilks up the inside. Block pass, he's deep. He's back to 4th place, and there was almost contact between Finley and Wilson Dilks. Wow, Wilson has completely messed up his run there, but he has got the pace to come through now. So Finley's going to get a nice toe. This is kind of split up the pack a little bit here, but Daniel Goodman's now in a comfortable second, with Casey O'Gorman leading the race once again with a 4/10 gap over Daniel Goodman. Is Wilson going to be able to rein him in? We'll have to wait and see, but Daniel Goodman's looking quite big on that bike, just because of the size difference. This is the time for Daniel Goodman to strike. Daniel Goodman should strike now and try and get him. There's Blake Wilson trying to get restarted, but sadly bike problems have ended his day. But Daniel Goodman, he could be looking for an inside move into this next hairpin. Is he going to get a run? Wilson Dilks is now all over Daniel Goodman. Daniel Goodman's not going to have a look. Casey O'Gorman's there. Daniel Goodman looked like he's got a good run. Wilson Dilks is now having an eye in as well. Who's going to get overtaken? This is all dramatic, and it's only a couple laps into the race.
I think actually dropping back there for Wilson Dilks might have been a good thing for him, because it just gets him away from Casey O'Brien for a bit. We saw in race 1 there was a lot of aggro going on between the pair, really aggressive racing, and I was wondering maybe if it was starting to get into Wilson's head. Now that he's away from Casey, he could just settle back into the rhythm and now start pushing as well. Again, he's also been racing elsewhere. Most of his racing has been done in other places in the championship, has Wilson Dilks. Maybe this time is the time he brings it forward in the Extreme 200. Dan Goodman, though, holding on to that second place. Casey O'Brien still in the lead, but once again, the top 3, nothing to separate them. Saw Wilson Dilks starting to push once again. He was fastest on that previous tour of 48.967. Really, really pushing fast is that young man. Is it fast enough for the lap record? Not quite. Still a little bit off from Evan Belford's time from 2022, but getting closer and closer as the day goes on. Coming through Stewart now down the bottom end of the circuit. It's really, really fast through here, Sully. Obviously, you've raced here before. What does it take to be racing at such a level with all these 3 guys just neck and neck out there?
Yeah, well, what a track this is. There's Wilson Dilks up the inside of Daniel Goodman. Sorry to cut that interview off, but that was an awesome move by Wilson. He's just there looking after his brakes. But yeah, it's an amazing track, this. I'm not a fan of the stop-start hairpins, but it's something that helps me work at something and points that I'm not very strong. And there's Wilson Dilks having another look up the inside, as this track is all hairpins and it's awesome for overtaking, but then it can kill your drive. So you have to take a matter of precaution. But as you can see there, Wilson made a lot of time on the brakes, but this is just, he just needs to make sure that he doesn't burn his brakes out like he has been recently. Looks like he's braking a little bit too hard and it's just causing his brakes to boil and lose brake pressure. And this is not what you want when you're trying to battle for a Metrokit 70 championship and have a good battle here. I think this is really good track time as he's learning this for the Ovale 190 series, but here we go. He's lined up Casey O'Brien. Is he going to get the drive to turn 1? No, he isn't. Casey is defensive every lap, which I must say you hate as a racer, but to try and keep the win against someone that's lighter, it's something you have to do. But Casey backing it into that corner. He's got to keep Wilson behind him. Wilson's looking all over the place, just trying to get past him, but he just can't make do at this moment in time. Dan Goodman's just sitting there comfy, waiting for a disaster waiting to happen. But Wilson is there, and Wilson there. Dilks up the inside of Casey O'Brien. He's got it stopped. A beautiful move, and now he's on the push. Is he going to try and pull away now, or is he just going to manage the race? Last time he did try and pull away, but let's see what he can do this time.
That was lovely from Wilson Dilks to get up into the lead of the race. Waited until there was a clean gap and went through. Awesome stuff from the 85. Fastest lap of the race as well. A 48.469, only 5/500ths of a second, should I say, off of the lap record in the Extreme 200, and that was back in the old regulations as well, which were a bit faster. So Wilson is doing a mighty job right now. At the line last time, it was only 0.2 of a second back to Casey O'Brien himself, only 0.2 of a second in front of Dan Goodman, still neck and neck between the top 3. Elsewhere, Finley POLHILL and Harrison Day, P4 and 5. Jensen Bishop also in that battle. But right now, this is the one that we're watching. It's Dilks versus O'Brien versus Dan Goodman for the race win. Dilks starting to pull away a little bit in front of Casey, who himself is starting to pull away a little bit from Dan behind as we go 5 laps left to go. But I'm sure it's not over yet. Oh, no, down goes O'Brien. O'Brien drops the front, coming through the opening chicane, and down, not out potentially, but certainly losing lots of places, gets back on the bike. The handlebar doesn't look too bent, but Casey O'Brien, oh, what a shame. What a shame for Casey O'Brien. Just a small error, a bit too much speed. Down he goes, and he is tumbled down the order. Just goes to show, Sully, when you're pushing that hard, how easy it is to have things go wrong.
Yeah, what a shame for Casey O'Brien. He wanted to win, and as you can see, and there we go, he's got a problem there, and that's a shame. His bar's obviously way too bent out, and he can't do anything about it, so he's stopped, just trying to fix the bike, and he's going again. But what a shame for Casey O'Brien. It was looking on, the battle was there, he was able to stay there, and he was just all over Wilson, as Wilson then went and beat his lap record from earlier on today with a 48.149. This has also caused Daniel Goodman to drop back 2 seconds from Wilson, and Wilson is now just in a comfortable lead. But now we're back on the battle for P3, the battle for third, we've got Finley POLHILL, Harrison Day and Jensen Bishop. But as you can see now, Wilson DILKS in a comfortable lead, and he just needs to bring it home now. But we'll see, it doesn't look like he's taking it very easy. He looks very comfortable, smooth, and to be fair, he's not, looks like he's on the limit. I think Casey, because of his size, it wasn't helping. He had to be pushing 24/7. But Wilson, he's just able to bring it, and I bet this will be an even faster, almost the same as his fastest lap time. He is just able to put some perfect lines and a perfect lap together. So props to Wilson for that.
Absolutely. New lap record then for Wilson DILKS. A 48.149, 3/10 faster than Evan Belford's lap, which he set back in 2022. Awesome stuff from him. Well, now it's just a nice little Sunday afternoon ride for Wilson DILKS. I mean, this is probably when you're at your best in a race, isn't it? When you're just out front on your own, you can control your rhythm, control your pace, and just, go and have some fun as well.
Yeah, well, he just looks very nice, loose, and he's not tense at all. And this is something that a lot of kids struggle with, is they get really tight when they're in this position and can mess up. And it's something I've done before, where you go tight and they start making mistakes, and then all of a sudden you've got the guy behind you straight on you. So he's managing it very nicely, just looking quite calm and collected. And this is exactly what you want to be right now. And as you can see, he's just there. He's not on the limit. He's not got the bike moving everywhere. He's just taking it easy. He's not got to brake too ridiculously late. It's just been a perfect race for him. So it was really nice by Wilson. And just look at him. It just looks like poetry in motion. And there you go, Richard Holmes-Williams. Looks like he's got a problem with the bike at the moment. He's been swapping between a 2-stroke and a 4-stroke all weekend. Doesn't look like he can get quite a good base setup. But just back on the man. He's done amazing all weekend in the Extreme 200s. He's just cruising now. And we'll be seeing him in the Metric at 70 class, where he was battling with Finley POLHILL and Byron Johnson earlier. So let's see what he's able to do. A ride across the track with a problem, but Wilson, he's just brought it home. What a lovely ride.
Yeah, it's been a much better ride in this race than race number 2 for Wilson DILKS. Race number 2, there was a lot of aggro between himself and Casey O'Brien. You could tell the aggression was there, the tensions were flaring. This time, while there was still a battle, now Wilson is just home free, and he can just bring it on home with a lovely, lovely ride. And this is Wilson DILKS at his absolute best. Just look at him as he manoeuvres the last few corners. Super loose, super comfortable, and most importantly, super, super fast. Wilson DILKS is going to bring home race number 3 of the Extreme 200s in round number 4 here at Rowrah. What a ride for that young man. A new lap record to boot as well. That is how it's done. Brilliant, brilliant stuff, and you can tell he was satisfied with that as he picks the front wheel up in celebration. Dan Goodman brings it home in second, with Finley POLHILL rounding out the podium. But Sully, that was much more like it from Wilson DILKS.
Yeah, that was a very good, nice race by Wilson DILKS and Daniel Goodman. Daniel just kept on the bike. He had no pressure from anyone else. A very nice ride by Dan and Wilson. Shame about Casey, but I heard this is a double header, so we'll be going again on Monday. Sadly, there'll be no visuals, but make sure you go on to the Speed Hive timing to look up and watch the race.
Yeah, we've got visuals tomorrow. We're live all day tomorrow. All Monday, we're bringing you FAB-Racing action live from Rowrah, so you can catch all of round 5's action as well.
Sounds like you guys are going to have to tune in another day, because I don't blame you. If I was you guys, I'd be missing work for this, because I don't want to miss this.
Oh, I don't know why you'd miss it for the world. Wilson DILKS takes victory in race number 3 of round 4 in the Extreme 200s. Dan Goodman brings it home in P2 with Finley POLHILL rounding out our podium. Jensen Bishop is 4th with Harrison Day in P5. Austin Johnson 6th. Archie O'Brien P7. Harley BAKER 8. Casey O'Brien recovered to P9 with Annabelle McCARTHY in P10. Fahad Lada was P11. Unfortunately, we did lose Richard Holmes-Williams and Blake Wilson at the end there. But a great race in race number 3 of the Extreme 200. Of course, they've got 3 more races to come. Round 5 this doubleheader weekend tomorrow. A big thanks to Super Sully once again for joining us in the commentary box for the Extreme 200. Of course, the reigning champion of the Extreme 200, as well as Red Bull MotoGP Rookies Cup rider. He clearly approves. 3 more races to come from these guys in round number 5. Race number 1 in round 5 for the Extreme 200, and boy oh boy is this one going to be exciting. yesterday, absolute fireworks. Wilson Dilks, Casey O'Gorman, Dan Goodman, 3 of the finest young British riders just there, that are possibly there, and they're all out there going out onto the track and just leaving it absolutely. Casey O'Gorman has been phenomenal. The former BTC champion has been showing why he's a British Challenge Cup winner. Of course, Wilson Dilks showing why he's leading the LS2 Helmets Mini GP 70s Championship at the moment. Dan Goodman showing why he's good enough to be in the British Challenge Cup. All 3 of them, major battles, pushing each other's to the limit and just being absolutely superb. Got to be said, someone's gone down. Oh, well, that's a start. Who's that's gone down down at McRae's? That's a stoppage. That's the 22 who's the 22? I'm not entirely sure. That might be someone that we've not got on our time, which is possibly Hamish MACKINTOSH by the looks of things. Judging by the leathers, I'm assuming, and the race number as well. So Hamish MACKINTOSH has headed out. He was set to start from the back anyway because he didn't qualify for the Extreme 200s. We have had that with a few riders this weekend, Zach, where because they were doing so many races, they decided not to do it, and then they've gone, actually, you know what, we can. Archie O'Brien is doing the same thing. But yeah, gone down in the opening lap. Bit weird, that.
Yeah, not ideal, to say the least. All is good. Maybe just a clumsy little mistake or whatever. I don't really know. Yeah. You'd have to ask him. But a shame nonetheless. They're going to be obviously on their second sighting lap. Might just delay things ever so slightly while we wait for him to round up on the grid. But Extremes, it's been extreme all weekend long, like we touched on. Close racing, hard racing, all the way through, and really looking forward to seeing how things kickstart for this one.
Absolutely. Wilson Dilks starts on pole position. Casey O'Gorman goes from P2 with Dan Goodman P3. They've been locked together all weekend long. Let's see if they can continue their fine form. Finley POLHILL starts 4th with Blake Wilson at P5. Sullivan Moundy was due to start in 6th, but the bike's broken, so he isn't. Harrison Day starts P7 with Austin Johnson in 8th, and Richard Holmes-Williams in P9. Jensen Bishop is 10th with Harley BAKER 11th, and Beth Ashby in P12. Annabelle McCARTHY starts 5th at 13th. Fahad Lada is 14th. Archie O'Brien starts in 15th. I'm assuming that Hamish MACKINTOSH is starting 16th, unless there's anyone else who's joined in that we haven't seen. They will all be starting from the back, though. There is Wilson Dilks, the pole man, and race winner a couple of times in the Extremes and across the weekend as well. But he had to work for it. Casey O'Gorman has been pushing various hard. Not seeing Casey O'Gorman, though. I'm assuming he's still here, unless he's decided to head off home. Of course, it is the British Grand Prix next weekend, or this weekend, should I say. He's not racing in that, but I'm certain he'll probably be making an appearance and pressing the flesh and all that. And actually, I tell you what, I'm not seeing much of Dan Goodman either. That's a disappointingly small grid for the Extreme 200s. Red lights are on. No O'Gorman, no Dan Goodman, Wilson Dilks. This one could be quite easy. It is lights out. We are underway. Finley POLHILL slides into P2 there, but Wilson Dilks, clear track ahead of him, even clearer track behind, and gets going on his way. Was that Dan Goodman there in the background? No, it was not. Just a similar looking machine. But as we continue to go round, that's a big shame. We saw some awesome battles yesterday in the Extreme 200s. This one might be a bit of a romp for Wilson Dilks.
Yeah, unfortunately. Not unfortunately for Wilson Dilks. I'm sure he's appreciating the win, because he is dominating the Extreme 200 Championship coming into this round. But he wants a bit of competition, of course, because in the 70s he's not really been getting it. I say that, actually, yesterday it was really, really tight between himself, Byron Johnson and Finley POLHILL as such. But maybe just a nice easy ride, of course, getting some experience on that Ovale and hammering in some good pace. Or maybe we'll be surprised. Nonetheless, after the first lap, there's Austin Johnson with Harrison Day creeping in behind him. That 15, of course, closing in, trying to find his way through for 4th place, as they are a little bit dispersed. There you can see Wilson Dilks running away. A close fight for 2nd, though, between POLHILL and Blake Wilson.
Absolutely. Wilson Dilks, just want to talk about him and Casey O'Gorman and Dan Goodman over the previous few races. Well, if you didn't catch it, go watch it, because, oh my word, talk about some of instant fab classics. Casey O'Gorman especially, though, was really pushing Wilson Dilks hard. You could tell he was trying to see what Wilson had in his locker. And, I think it actually might have got into Wilson's head a little bit, because in the first Extreme race yesterday, he was looking very, very tight on the bike. He didn't look very comfortable, and even though he was still very fast, it was still very, very strong. And then obviously he overrode in the LS2 Helmets Mini GP 70s race yesterday, ended up crashing using too much brakes. But then race number 3, Wilson DILKS, he brought it back a little bit and was absolutely major. Jensen BISHOP, meanwhile, currently in P6, doing a great job as he heads up the hill, currently fighting with Harrison Day, who we see there. Just slowly working his way around the number 11. Let's see if he's able to work his way through. The 27 there of Austin Johnson also getting involved. Austin, of course, the older brother of Byron Johnson, who has been on absolute brilliant form this weekend. Let's see if Austin can do his family proud and do what Byron's doing. But of course, Austin is a legend in the Fab paddock in his own right, been ripping up the track for years around here. And it's great to see him out on the Extreme 200s and going around. He's also been doing some Supermoto races with Storm Stacey and the like, so he's clearly operating in high circles, is Austin Johnson. Doing a great job out there, though.
Very much is. Just want to check in with the pace that Wilson DILKS is setting. That his best time at 48.477. The lap record set by Evan Belford this time 2 years ago at 48.431. So very, very close. 2-lap record pace, even though he's running all by himself. Of course, this battle here, the 27 of Austin Johnson, 15 of Harrison Day, and 11 of Jensen BISHOP. A 3-bike train for 4th place as things stand. All 3 of them esteemed riders in their own right, and definitely going on to do big and brilliant things over the course of their career. Of course, Jensen BISHOP, think back to Lid in the 70s and how he just switched on with those new brakes and absolutely caught everyone lying down for one race until, of course, he fell off 2 laps later. There is Harrison Day, though, with a fantastic run off Paddock Bend, trying to find the inside line, but no way through. Austin Johnson very much has his work cut out for him. Also, 48.2 from Wilson DILKS. I think that's a new lap record.
Yeah, I think it is. It's faster than the ones the guys were setting yesterday. Wilson DILKS, new lap record in the Extreme 200. They did break the lap record yesterday, but it was only minorly faster than the previous lap set by Evan Belford. So Wilson DILKS has broken his own lap record this morning. Turns out when you're not fighting with the likes of Casey Gorman and Dan Goodman, you can actually go a little bit faster than you were. So Wilson DILKS, 48.282, a new lap record. Might go even faster as well if he's feeling in his element. Again, as I was saying earlier, when he was racing with Casey and Dan, that first race, he was really tight on the bike, he was pushing very, very hard. And then obviously overrode in the LS2 Helmets Mini GP 70s race, used too much brakes because he was still trying to push way too hard. Came back into the Extremes race, was still pushing very hard, was still tight on the bike. Then Dan Goodman got through. Wilson then, was very smart about it, decided to sit back for a few laps, just sit, reset. And since then, he's been absolutely flying, looks super comfortable on the bike. He's in the right headspace. He's still pushing super hard, but not using too much brake, not using too much tyre. And since that moment, DILKS has been absolutely untouchable this weekend, not just in the Extreme 200s, but over in the LS2 Helmets Mini GP 70s as well. He's on fine form at the moment, is DILKS, and continues to show FAB-Racing why he is one of the best up-and-coming talents in British bike racing. Meanwhile, this battle rages on. Austin Johnson, Harrison Day, and Jensen BISHOP all fighting over 4th place, the closest scrap we have out on track right now. Austin Johnson has been holding on from Harrison Day at the moment. Day just unable to find a way through at the moment, but we still got 6 laps left to go. Anything can happen.
Exactly that. There's a battle for P2 as well. Finley POLHILL leading Blake Wilson in a fight for 2nd place. They've been trading positions for the best part of this race. 6 laps left to go. Blake Wilson trying to find a way through on Finley POLHILL. Of course, still searching for his first win on a metric kit this season. Has been close. He's gotten a number of podiums. Came tantalisingly close yesterday in the LS2 Helmets Mini GP 70s. But now is having to settle for maybe a P2 if he's able to keep Blake Wilson behind. Still a lot of race left to run, and Blake Wilson looks feisty.
Yeah, he does indeed. Can Blake Wilson do the business, or is Finley POLHILL going to be able to hold on? 5 laps left to run in this race here in the Extreme 200s. And wow, look at that. That was super close between Blake Wilson and Finley POLHILL. Almost front wheel to rear wheel. Great avoiding action from Blake Wilson, it must be said. Harrison Day, meanwhile, and Jensen BISHOP has got through Austin Johnson, but BISHOP gets left out to dry. Austin Johnson with a lovely move up the inside makes BISHOP sit up the bike just a little bit and forces his way back through. That has allowed Harrison Day a bit of breathing room as those two fighting, costing them time, of course. And look at how hard Jensen BISHOP is pushing right to the white line, almost onto the grass, and looking for a way around Austin Johnson. BISHOP feels like he's faster at this pace in the race. He's got through Johnson once already. He wants to get through again. He wants to start chasing down Harrison Day. That's where he feels like he should be running with. But right now, Johnson doing a great job just to make that bike as wide as it possibly can be. The 27 running very, very well at the moment.
Yeah, indeed so. 4 laps left to go at the line. It's Wilson Dilks from Finley POLHILL, Blake Wilson, that's the podium. Of course, then we're following that battle. Harrison Day through on Austin Johnson, and look at the gap already. Harrison Day is flying and just sort of hampered maybe by being stuck behind Austin Johnson for so long. Maybe that's a similar fate being befallen the way of Jensen Bishop, because the number 11 is really trying to find a way through on that 27, but not really any opportunities providing. Of course, they're both very equal, and Jensen Bishop is going to have to be very creative if he wants to find his way into the top 5.
Creative is what Jensen Bishop is, though. Sometimes he's just able to produce these moments of magic, exactly like that, as he forces Austin Johnson into a mistake. Johnson ran very wide, luckily able to recover, but there goes. Oh, and look at the frustration from Austin Johnson. Wow, that one was not what he wanted to do. He is very, very upset about that. But already straight to the inside. Oh, block pass, lovely. Bishop didn't defend. Oh, has Johnson got a problem? I think Johnson may have a problem with the bike. He was very slow off there. I'm not sure if he missed the gear or if there's an issue on that 27. We saw he was frustrated a moment ago as he ran wide, and maybe the temperature, rising under the helmet, shall we say. But maybe, yeah, that bike doesn't look particularly happy out there on track.
No, absolutely not. He doesn't look very happy riding it either. So clearly something not right, whether that's mentally for Johnson or the bike maybe just having some issues. He definitely has dropped off the pace compared to what we saw over obviously qualifying and into the beginning of the race. Back to the fight for P2 though. It's still Finley POLHILL leading Blake Wilson. They're about 14 seconds off the back of Wilson Dilks, who's running at such consistent pace up in front, so much quicker than the rest of the field. But a lap and a half left to go. Finley POLHILL under pressure still from Blake Wilson as he tries to find a way through. Stuart Bend, of course, approaches. A late apex taken by Blake Wilson, trying to get that drive towards St John's, but again not quite close enough as they emerge through into Sunny Bend. A decent overtaken opportunity, but right now no good for Blake Wilson finding his way through on Finley POLHILL. There is our race leader though, with half a lap to go.
Wilson Dilks, it's been a nice and chill Monday morning ride for him. Again, no Casey O'Gorman, no Dan Goodman. He's had no competition in this one. We did lose Archie O'Brien, unfortunately, in this race. I think he just pulled into the pits early doors. Not sure if an issue with the bike, or he just decided it wasn't worth the running. May as well save some tyres. As going down there, that's coming into McRae's hairpin, an issue for somebody. But Blake Wilson, it's not going to affect him because with only a handful of corners to go, it's already done and dusted. The 85 has looked mighty this weekend. Now he looks even better, dominating race number 1 in round 5 of the Extreme 200. Wilson Dilks takes a majestic victory and takes the checkered flag by some margin. Who's going to be first out of these two coming to the line? Finley POLHILL will take P2 with Blake Wilson in P3, very, very close behind. But Wilson Dilks, well, 15 seconds was the gap at the line. Wheelies very much deserved. That one, well, it was a pretty easy win for him overall in the end, but he was pushing very, very hard. New lap record set, breaking his own time from yesterday in the process. Again, he's using these extra races to learn about the conditions, learn more about the bike, what he can do, what can't he do, how he can push, and it's just helping him improve and improve and improve as a rider, and that's why his winning margins just seemingly get bigger and bigger and bigger. Wilson Dilks takes the win from Finley POLHILL and Harrison Day, rounding out the podium. Jensen Bishop was P4 with Austin Johnson in P5, finished 6 seconds off of Bishop in the end, so potentially problems there for the 27. Harley Baker was in P6 with Blake Wilson in 7th, so it looks like Blake Wilson was the one who went down at McRae's hairpin. Annabelle McCARTHY finished in P8 with Hamish MACKINTOSH in P9. Archie O'Brien pulled into the pits very early doors, either an issue with the bike or decided it wasn't worth the running. That's it for race 1 of the Extreme 200s. They will, of course, be back out a little bit later on. Still 2 more races to come this weekend for them. 2 more races to go in round number 5. The time for them to rest, relax before they head back out onto track. Race number 2 in the Extreme 200s, and look who's back. Casey O'Gorman getting ready to head out onto the track. And, well, should be very, very exciting, hopefully. As there we see Austin Johnson as well, getting prepared, getting ready. But yeah, we'll wait and see. Of course, Wilson Dilks A pretty lonely ride last time. But, you know, that's not to take away. We saw some good battles, and we saw Wilson Dilks crucially showing what he can do, because Wilson Dilks just came through and just looked right at home. He was super comfortable, super just relaxed and focused, and I wouldn't say perfect, but he was beautiful out on track.
Yeah, he really was. Wilson Dilks, I mean, just this season, both in the 70s on the Metrica and on the Avali in the Extremes, he just is the benchmark for anything. And this weekend, granted, hasn't been perfect, but even then, he's been able to limit the damage. And for some, they would actually dream of a weekend that Wilson's having, but yet Wilson's coming out of it maybe a bit disappointed. That's how good of a rider that young lad is. And once again, is going to be looking for, hopefully, a fantastic battle between himself, Casey O'Gorman, and, of course, Dan Goodman on that front row. Let's run you through the grid, of course. As they rack up before they get to the grid, it's Wilson Dilks, O'Gorman and Goodman, the front row ahead of Polhill. Blake Wilson, Sullivan Mountney should be taken to the Extremes, but of course bike issues on Friday meant that he can't. Harrison Day from Austin Johnson and HOLMES-WILLIAMS, that's the front three rows. From Bishop, Harley Baker, Beth Ashby, Annabelle McCARTHY and Fahad Lada complete what is a 14-rider field. Of course, we have got a couple at the back, the likes of maybe of course, of Archie O'Brien and Finley POLHILL, I believe, as well. Oh, he qualified P4. He was meant to be here. But a couple of maybe those on the Metricats entering their bike into the Extreme 200 race just for extra track time, because it is so valuable. Of course, you can see no Casey O'Gorman just yet lining up in second place. Where is he?
Not here again by the looks of things. Thought I saw him. Guess I was wrong, unless he's stunning it up. I don't think he's here, unfortunately. Unless there's the 126 in the... Oh, yeah, there he's 71. Yeah, he is there, apparently. He's just... No, the 27 is Austin 67. Johnson. That's not Casey O'Gorman, so maybe he's not there. Who knows? We're underway, though. Great stuff from Wilson Dilks, the 48 away as well. But it is Wilson Dilks that takes the lead. Looks like Blake Wilson in P2, Finley POLHILL in P3, and Austin Johnson up to P4 as well. Great start there. Harrison Day, he'll be a bit disappointed with that one. Dropped down the order a little bit. Who's that? Is that Richard Holmes-Williams who's made his way out to the circuit? I believe it is. On the 126, he started right down at the back. Richard Holmes-Williams decided to join in the fun here in the Extreme 200s as they make their way down to Stewart's. That being said, Wilson Dilks is not plain sailing yet. Blake Wilson, oh my word, the bike complaining, protesting underneath him, moving around. And tell you what, Blake Wilson's taking it to Wilson Dilks right now.
He really is. We saw some great pace from Blake Wilson and Finley POLHILL in the first race earlier on. They were really the fight for second that was happening. But Wilson Dilks, obviously, is the favourite. But if Blake Wilson is able to keep this pace up, we could well have another three-way fight for the Extreme 200s. It's a class that a lot of people use just for extra track time, but actually it's now in 2024 really becoming a fantastically competitive championship with fantastic close racing from rivals that are obviously familiar with each other time and time again. This is turning into what is hopefully going to be a fantastic race. Austin Johnson ahead of Jensen Bishop and Harrison Day. That's a fight for fourth place as well. So two separate packs of three.
Awesome stuff there from Blake Wilson to stay on the back of Wilson Dilks, but it's not done yet. The front two starting to pull a bit of a gap ahead of Finley POLHILL in P3, but as I say that, POLHILL closes right back up to the back of them and maybe looking to the inside. Finley POLHILL had to sit the bike up there to not cause an accident, but it was worth the look for the number 99. 10 laps to go then in this one as they cross the line. Dilks still leading from Wilson. Try not to get confused between Blake Wilson and Wilson Dilks. Pretty tricky, that one on occasions as they come through there. You see Austin Johnson looks like he's lost a position to Jensen Bishop, and indeed he has. Jensen Bishop, of course, a rider who is absolutely spectacular on the brakes. That's really one of his strongest skill sets. And Rowrah, a track where braking is absolutely crucial. Just asked Wilson Dilks in the 70 yesterday when he used too much of them and went down and crashed, and he's had to really kind of reset his mentality ever since then. But since then he's also been looking better than ever before. It also looks like Blake Wilson is up in front of Wilson Dilks at the front of the pack. But as I say that, Wilson Dilks to the inside. Does Blake Wilson get the switch back? No, he does not. Yes, he does actually. Gets the drive neck and neck into the opening chicane. Blake Wilson down does lead the way.
Blake Wilson is smashing it. Of course, they're ages off the lap record set by Wilson Dilks in race 1 of a 48.282. But the racing that we've got in store, Wilson taking it to Dilks. Oh my word, who'd have thought after the first race that Blake Wilson would be able to rise to this level? But he is. 9 laps left to go. It's not going to be easy. Wilson Dilks, though, under pressure, and we've seen in the 70s that maybe there can be some cracks start to form in his defence. He's got to look backwards to keep Polhill behind. He's got to look forwards to attack Wilson. He is not in an optimal position.
No, he is not right now. 9 laps, soon to be 8 laps left to run. Wilson Dilks needs to sit back and think. It's a bit like race 2 of round 4 when Casey O'Gorman and Wilson Dilks and Dan Goodman were putting on a display, but Casey O'Gorman, you could tell, was really... Oh, Dilks has made a big error.
Oh.
Dilks has fallen down right back from the leaders in Wilson and Polhill. I'm not sure what happened, if he missed the chicane or what, but in fact he's dropped back to 4th. I think Jensen Bishop has slid on through. Wilson Dilks has gone wrong somewhere and fallen backwards. Still on the bike, still going, but problems there for Wilson Dilks. That's not what you want to see.
Nah, last thing at all for Wilson Dilks. Of course, he is naturally going to drop back then. He's going to have to spend the rest of this race trying to recover some positions, some time, ideally, because he's still going to emerge probably in about P3 after the fact. But, again, it's that time loss to Blake Wilson and Finley POLHILL. There's a change for position as well. Looks to the inside, not quite able to thwart it, is the 27 of Austin Johnson. So I think that's Harley Baker moving their way through. In fact, it's the 48. We have got a couple of riders, I believe, potentially without transponders on. That might well be the cause for the confusion. 7 laps left to go, and a fight for the lead on our hands. Half a second separate Blake Wilson and Finley POLHILL. There they are, of course. Finley POLHILL off the high of the LS2 Helmets Mini GP 70s. His first win on the Metro kit. You wait long enough for one bus, 2 can come at once, and that might well be what could happen for Finley POLHILL here.
I think that is Harley Baker on the 48. I think he's just got the wrong transponder number on. He turns up to a different number on our live timing, but I recognise the leather, so I think it is Harley Baker. So panic not, Zach Sweeney. But back to the front we go. Yeah, Blake Wilson and Finley POLHILL neck and neck. Fastest lap of the race from Finley POLHILL. The 199 does a 49.324. Wilson Dilks is in P3, 2 seconds away. You can see him there. So clearly the error not as substantial as we thought. As running wide there goes Blake Wilson. Is that an opportunity for Finley POLHILL? Not quite, but again, could be a second race win of the afternoon for that young man if he plays his cards right. He's got 6 laps left to go, and he's in prime position, chasing down the race leader. He's got fastest lap of the race as well on that number 99 machine. Finley POLHILL's got to be feeling confident. He's got to be feeling pacey, feeling racy. And when he looks it as well, out on the circuit, he's just got to make his way through Blake Wilson. That's the only thing in his way.
Yeah, and Blake Wilson is not going to want to give that lead up without a fight, but we've seen how raceable Rowrah is. It flows nicely, and the momentum really can shift. A lot of heavy braking zones, granted, of course, but as well a lot of opportunities to get that switch back and maybe go for that move into Stewart or Sunny Bend or Paddock Hill, where you've really got to lean the bike in and carry some good speed through. 5 laps left to go. The gap between them, absolutely nothing. Wilson Dilks only 2 seconds back as well, so they can't afford to fight too hard because they run the risk of not winning at all.
Yeah, that's what you want to do. You don't want to make a mistake, make an error, have a collision, something along those lines, and have it all fall apart. It's all about risk. It's how much do you want to risk it? As you can hear the wind there really picking up, goodness me. As Wilson still leads POLHILL as they head through Sunny Bend. Unfortunately, sun seemingly going away for some clouds today, but through Paddock Bend they go. 4 laps left to run this time by, and into the opening chicane. Finley POLHILL, another fastest lap on the previous effort of 49.269. That was 0.2 quicker than Blake Wilson in front. There's maybe a gap here as Blake Wilson runs wide. Finley POLHILL, who have the outside coming into Erdales, decides against it, decides to tuck back into the toe, maybe get the drive out of Erdales. No, can't quite get it. Blake Wilson using the grunt of that number 8 machine to hold on to the lead. Drew Stewart's they run now onto the back section. They go. Blake Wilson doing a great job. He looks mighty through here, but watch Finley POLHILL through St John's. So confident, just grazing the curb in Sunny Bend as well. He's gaining a lot of time through those corners, putting a lot of trust in the Rowrah, a lot of trust in the mechanical grip of the bike, and it's helping him out because it comes to 3 laps left to go, still right on the tail of our race leader.
Yeah, exactly that. Not long at all. Finley POLHILL just is waiting for that initial opportunity. He's not quite been close enough to really mount a meaningful challenge. Unfortunately, I think further back we're watching a battle as well start to unfold. They're going to start their third to last lap. Also, that's the 126. That's Richard Holmes-Williams on the back of Annabelle McCarthy, of course, on the 113. So they're going to be doing battle for 9th place honours. But very close. Blake Wilson, Finley POLHILL keeping each other honest, rising each other to new levels. Of course, Wilson DILKS has been dropped and left for the dust. The 126 of Holmes-Williams tries to find his way through, but Annabelle McCarthy says absolutely not, and is able to keep that position in 9th place. Penultimate lap begins now as Blake Wilson leads Finley POLHILL by just a 1/10.5.
Super close between the front two. Annabelle McCarthy, another one of our talented female riders here at FAB-Racing. But it's getting close up the front of the pack. I think Richard Holmes-Williams actually having some fun racing with her. Richard Holmes-Williams starts at the back as he rockets through. But yeah, letting her through here as well. So I think Richard Holmes-Williams just bringing the race to Annabelle McCarthy a bit, having some fun, seeing what they can both achieve out on track, trying to see if there's anything that they can pull off as they head on to their penultimate lap of the race. Richard Holmes-Williams now actually starting to extend the gap a bit. There is our leaders though. Soon to be the final lap. Round Paddock Bend they turn. You couldn't fit a razor blade between the pair of them. Last lap flag is out. Here we go in race 2 of the Extreme 200s. Blake Wilson holds on to the lead by millimetres from Finley POLHILL. Look at how hard they're pushing as they bring it all the way out to the white line. Heading through the opening chicane. Bit wide there from Blake Wilson. Heading through McRae's hairpin. We're used to seeing that from him. He prefers a wider line on the exit. Now bringing it in. Finley POLHILL likes to tuck the bike in at the exit of Airedales to try and punch down the straight. Just doesn't quite have the same grunt that Blake Wilson does. Into Stewart's for the very final time. Finley POLHILL, it's going to have to be a last chance saloon move into Sunny Bend, I think, because that's where he's strongest. Does he have what it takes? The 99, the inside beckons. No, not quite on this occasion. Maybe the final corner if Finley POLHILL feels brave enough. He certainly has a look. Do they come together? Almost contact. But it will be Blake Wilson that holds on by a 1/10 of a second to take the victory at the death. But man, oh man, what a battle that was in the Extreme 200s. Blake Wilson and Finley POLHILL right to the wire.
Good effort from Finley POLHILL. Of course, you can see both of them celebrating. Both of them have cause for celebration. But Blake Wilson into this round in the Extremes, 2 top 5 finishes. And that's good, don't get me wrong, but it's not a huge aspiration. Then he comes into Rowrah, and another one of those riders that something just switches on really well for him. He had that pace, was closing in on Wilson DILKS on merit, forced DILKS into a mistake in the end, and then was able to run away with Finley POLHILL and then still deal with the pressure of that last lap charge from POLHILL. Let's take a look as to how things wrapped up. Blake Wilson, a number of podiums this weekend. He takes victory for race 2 of round 5 at the Extreme 200s. Finley POLHILL and Wilson DILKS join him on the podium ahead of Jensen BISHOP and Harrison Day, another top 5 finish for the young 15. Harley BAKER in 6th ahead of Austin Johnson, and then comes Hamish MACKINTOSH. Richard Holmes-Williams ahead of Annabelle McCarthy. In the end, it was the 126 that was able to tip the 113 to 9th place. Fear not, because the Extreme 200s will be back later on for race 3. Heading on to their final race of the weekend then is a series that has brought us a lot of intrigue here in Rowrah, the Extreme 200 class. A lot of familiar faces in terms of old FAB-Racing graduates, some of the British Talent Cup riders as well, but also some of our up-and-coming stars of the future, some of our Metrokit Mini GP70 riders jumping in, but also the favourite that is Wilson DILKS. Championship leader in the Extreme 200s, championship leader in the LS2 helmets, Mini GP70 series as well, but a lot in store for us here for the final race of the Extreme 200s. Let's run you through the grid order. while they're on their formation lap, getting themselves warmed up. Wilson Dilks will lead Casey O'Gorman, potentially. Dan Goodman is meant to line up alongside, but that front row has been pretty much empty apart from Wilson Dilks all day long. Finley POLHILL will line up 4th ahead of Blake Wilson. Harrison Day will start row number 3 in the absence of Sullivan Mounsey, who should be 6th. Austin Johnson ahead of HOLMES-WILLIAMS on row 3. Then comes Jensen Bishop to round off the top 10. Harley Baker from Beth Ashley, Annabelle McCARTHY, and what should be Fahad Lada, but I don't think they're going to be taking to the field for row number 5. Let's bring this on for Extreme 200 because, well, especially over the duration of Sunday, the action has been exactly that. It's been extreme. It's been ramped up to the max. And hopefully it's going to be the exact same to round off what has been a very tough double-header weekend, it must be said. A lot of these riders looking to complete their 11th race of this weekend and really round things off, maybe with a bang. Let's see. As you can see, the 85 of Wilson Dilks, assuming his pole position on that 85 Ovale, very good in a straight line. Is that bike relative to the Metro Kit and has really got the machine advantage, but also you can, that saying, you can take a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. And Wilson Dilks, he has been chugging it down in terms of making the most of that Ovale in the Extreme 200 class, dominating pretty much every round thus far in the Extreme 200 class. Eyes to the lights then for the final time for Extreme 200s. Wilson Dilks from pole position, pretty much uncontested. In fact, Finley POLHILL, rocket ship launch to the outside of turn number 1. Not quite good enough to take the race lead, but Finley POLHILL, what a dramatic start that was. Clear air ahead of him, nearly got ahead of Wilson Dilks by the time they reached the first corner. Side by side as Blake Wilson tries to move his way past Austin Johnson and does so up into 3rd place, trying to keep sight of the 2 leaders as well. That was a fantastic 3-way battle, it must be said, over the duration of race number 2 in the Extreme 200s. Wilson Dilks making that extreme mistake we cannot forget, opening the door for Blake Wilson to take a sensational victory. Can he repeat it once again? There you can see Jensen Bishop on the back of Austin Johnson as well, trying to find his way through on the 27 machine. But as we round off the first lap, it is going to be Wilson Dilks from Finley POLHILL, from then Blake Wilson, the top 3. Beautiful stuff, it must be said. Let's see what can happen as we've still got 12 laps of racing to go.
Look at Finley POLHILL looking to the inside there of Wilson Dilks. Fancied it a bit, didn't he? Of course, POLHILL was looking phenomenal in race number 2 earlier. Got a great start in this one, and he's gone through. What a move by Finley POLHILL. Dilks left the door open, and Finley POLHILL up and through. He's won races here already this weekend. Can he add an Extreme 200 1-2? His tally, the 99 in the lead from the 85, from the number 48. Finley POLHILL take the lead of the race as they head through down at the bottom end of the circuit, through the back section, the sweeping S's. Some of the most fun corners on the calendar. Now into Sunny Bend and away they go. Into the right-hander, all Dilks trying to set up a move to the inside. Ultimately came to nothing, but worth a go nonetheless. POLHILL leads. Fastest lap of the race as well, 49.7. Very, very close out there. I mean, look at the difference. They're so tight. POLHILL and Dilks, Blake Wilson there as well. And not far behind them, Jensen Bishop, Austin Johnson, they're also pretty close behind. Could be an interesting race with 10 laps to go.
Yeah, very much could be. Finley POLHILL, of course, doing exactly what he did in race 2. Of course, it was Wilson Dilks, like I say, that blinked first and made that all-important mistake that opened the door for Blake Wilson to obviously take that victory in fantastic fashion. A drag race to the line between himself and Finley POLHILL. Of course, now Dilks sandwiched between 2 race winners this weekend. All 3 of them inside the top 3 have won a race. All of them have been consistently on the podium, and all of them are vying for top honours in the final round of Extreme 200 before we head to the final 2 rounds of 2024. It's gone quickly, so too is this race. Only 9 laps to go already.
It is so close out there, and it is flying by as the clock ticks down. POLHILL, Dilks, Wilson, Bishop, Johnson, your top 5. And they are pretty close out there, to put it politely. You can see Harley Baker and Harrison Day getting involved in the background. Archie O'Brien's also made his way out onto the track in this one, trying to get some more track time. O'Brien's been struggling this weekend, maybe trying to diagnose what's going on, what the problem is in this Extreme 200 race as he makes his way from the back. Meanwhile, POLHILL under extreme pressure from Wilson Dilks, almost touching the pair of them. That's how close they are. That's a wonderful block pass from Wilson Dilks, but it's not done yet because Polhill's got the inside into the final corner, but Dilks just sweeps around the outside. That was brave and that was brilliant from the number 85 as he takes the lead of the race with 8 laps left to go. He's been loving it down there into Sunny Bend, just send it up the inside. Had to sit Polhill up a little bit. Polhill didn't take no for an answer though. He still fought along until Dilks was clear on through, but he's still trying to fight back now. The 99 looks to the outside, coming into Erdell's. We'll have to settle for second. Oh, what a move by Finley POLHILL, gets the bike rotated and up into the lead once again. Here comes Blake Wilson. Watch Jensen Bishop in the background. He set the fastest lap of the race last time. Suddenly it's a 4-way fight for the lead.
Let's bring this on. 8 laps left to go. There's Wilson Dilks immediately trying to launch an counter-attack on Finley POLHILL. This is fantastic racing. It goes without saying. Great respect shown between 4 fantastic young riders. 7 laps left to go. Let's see how this is going to conclude because Finley POLHILL is not backing down. Wilson Dilks is a tyrant in any championship he sets foot in, but right now Finley POLHILL is David versus Goliath, and Finley POLHILL is ahead comfortably for now, but Blake Wilson in the mix, Jensen Bishop in the mix as well. This could go any which way for 7 laps to go.
It's so close out there. You can't fit a piece of paper between any of them. POLHILL, Dilks, Wilson, Bishop separated by 0.6 of a second at the line last time, and there's still 6.5 laps left to run here in the final Extreme 200 race at Rowrah. This doubleheader round which has brought us so much excitement, so much entertainment, and it still continues to serve us absolute brilliant racing. POLHILL will lead another lap. Wilson Dilks looking racy behind him though once again, but Dilks needs to be wary of those coming up behind as well. There's Jensen Bishop, who's been slowly building up his speed all weekend. The boy is brilliant on the brakes. Can he launch any dive bombs on those in front? Blake Wilson really needs to be covering his inside, because Blake Wilson, well, if he leaves the door open, Jensen Bishop will just fire one up the inside. Remember, back at Lids, race number 2 for the LS2 Helmets Mini GP 70s Championship. Before the red flag came out, Jensen Bishop started lapping 2 seconds a lap quicker than anyone else just because of his ability on the brakes.
Yeah, exactly. New brakes, of course, going on. There's Wilson Dilks to the inside of St John's. It's not often we see that. Finley POLHILL is not phased by a surprise attack from the 85. The acceleration goes the way of Dilks. Does the inside open up? He eyes it up, but POLHILL is wise, stays in the middle of the circuit and gives Dilks the choice. The drive, though, goes the way of the 85. Inside line through the chicane. POLHILL has to back out. Change for the lead once again with 5 laps left to go. Wilson Dilks ahead of POLHILL.
That was lovely from Wilson Dilks. You can tell he really loves Paddock Bend. The final corner, he can take so many different lines out there, so many different corner entries, corner exits, and still be fast as they're almost 3 abreast. Coming up into Erdell's corner, almost contact because look at how close they all are. There was nearly POLHILL into the back of Dilks, Wilson into the back of POLHILL. Oh, there's Austin Johnson fighting with Harrison Day further down the pack. This is the battle for 5th place. I think Johnson's struggling for pace at the moment. Jensen Bishop at the back of this pack just sat there patiently waiting for an opening. They are neck and neck out there. 4 laps to go at the line.
Let's bring it on. POLHILL, can he charge back after Wilson Dilks? Of course, they're virtually matched on pace. Let's see who's going to be the ones to take the top honours in the Extreme 200s. Wilson Dilks has done it on a number of occasions this season, leads the championship, but Finley POLHILL, a surprise charge here at Rowrah. There's the fight. Harrison Day got a decent chunk of bikes behind him. Archie O'Brien at the tail end of that pack. Let's see if he's able to charge his way through the 91, late on the brakes into the first hairpin. That was brave. That was brilliant. Up the inside of Harley Baker. The 48 comes back at him though to the outside of the second hairpin. Archie defends and has to tip the bike back up. Does Harley Baker in avoidance of the 91. There we go, a 6th sense there for the Spider-Man helmet young lad. He's working his way through up nicely into 7th place. 3 laps left to go here for the Extreme 200s at Rowrah.
So close out there across the field. This battle for what is now 6th place as Harrison Day has made his way through up in front. Wilson Dilks, meanwhile, potentially under attack from Finley POLHILL. for the race lead. Look at Blake Wilson as well. Oh, bit of a wobble coming out of the corner for the number 48, but he's got the inside on Finley POLHILL. Saw the opportunity and grasped it with both hands. There goes Blake Wilson up into second place. Jensen BISHOP has dropped away from the sleep pack just a little bit, but still can be considered within the conversation as they blast their way into St John's. And now Sonny Bend, the left-hander, which Wilson DILKS made the daring move on POLHILL to get the lead just a few laps ago. Into Paddock Bend they go, the final corner. DILKS takes his regular line. No need to go defensive on the current occasion. Penultimate lap of the race. 2 to go this weekend for the Extreme 200s. POLHILL, I think, a little bit of a mistake there as he goes chattering over the bumps coming through the opening chicane. I think POLHILL might just have dropped out of this lead battle as well. Blake Wilson last lap, fastest lap of 49.082. Absolutely rapid. Blake Wilson could be winning this race.
I think so. He's waited long enough for one, but the adrenaline high, you get addicted to winning, and he wants to go for it. He's got the opportunity to do it right now. A lap and a half left to run, and Wilson DILKS is in his sights. He's in his crosshairs, and targeting him now is Blake Wilson. He's got the pace. Will he have the opportunity? 1 lap left to run here at Rowrah for the Extreme 200s in 2024 of FAB-Racing. Blake Wilson, Wilson DILKS, 1 more tour of Rowrah to go. Who's going to be the one to take top honours? Let's find out. Blake Wilson riding his way through the chicane, trying to set up the move, but Wilson DILKS has got it covered.
Wilson DILKS defensive to the inside. Jensen BISHOP's dropped a little bit too far back to be in the conversation for the win anymore. Here comes Blake Wilson, looking to the outside. DILKS defensive. Goes Blake Wilson. No, doesn't get the switchback. Finley POLHILL was right there with him, and Blake Wilson just couldn't get the bike turned in as a result. DILKS, Wilson, POLHILL all the way now as they come into the back section. The 3 of them neck and neck. St John's for the final time. Does Blake Wilson have what it takes? Coming to the final few corners, Wilson DILKS runs out very wide. Last chance saloon. Oh, that was aggressive defending from Wilson DILKS. Is it enough defending? To the line they come. Drag racing across. Wilson DILKS will take it by 0.5 of a second. Aggressive defending from the race winner, but it's what he needed to take the victory in the Extreme 200s. Wilson DILKS takes a win. That was hard fought with Blake Wilson and Finley POLHILL right on his tail. Jensen BISHOP ultimately P4, backed off on the last lap, knew he was out of the conversation, decided to just bring it home. He was over a second away from the leaders in the end. But Wilson DILKS, an aggressive defensive manoeuvre, but a fairer defensive manoeuvre is what gave him the win in that one.
Yeah, it was aggressive, but in the end, he didn't actually do anything untoward. He was just sort of parking it in the middle of the road, and Blake Wilson sort of psyched himself out, tried to dummy, there was no space, and he realised that quite quickly. In the end, it was Wilson DILKS ahead of Blake Wilson. Finley POLHILL takes another very impressive podium after a number of victories this weekend. Jensen BISHOP, Harrison Day, another top 5 for the consistent young man inside once again. Archie O'Brien in P6 ahead of Austin Johnson. Harley BAKER rounds off 8th ahead of Hamish MACKINTOSH, with Annabelle McCARTHY rounding out our top 10 and the field for the Extreme 200s. They'll be back in a couple of weeks' time, 3 weeks to be exact, when we head to Clay Pigeon.